thank you so much to everyone for joining this evening. As Matt said, my name's Beth, and I am the segment manager for private tutors here at Twinkl. So tonight we're going to be talking about everything to do with starting out on your tutoring journey. If you have already started, don't worry, that's fine. Things will still be relevant to you, but we're going to think about what you might want to think about from the start, or if you're expanding your tutoring business a little bit as well. So Matt's gone through a lot of the housekeeping, but one extra thing that I just want to point out is the reaction. So if you're on a computer, you'll have this little toolbar at the bottom, and there is the smiley face, which we're currently pointing to. So if you click on that, you can then react to things as well. So there are some bits where we are going to ask you to be interactive. You don't need your camera on, you don't need to be talking. We can just use these reactions here. That is absolutely fine. That being said, please make sure your microphones are muted, just because otherwise we can get a bit of background noise. It's always the perfect time for someone to start doing the hoovering or something like that as soon as you sit down into something like this. And next to the mute button, we do have the camera. So if you want your camera on, that's great. If you don't, that's also fine. It's entirely up to you. Perfect. So what we're going to cover today, we've got a range of things we will cover, but if you've got any questions as we go along, as we said earlier, just pop them into the chat. Matt will collect all of those, and then we'll be able to go through them at the end, or when we get a chance throughout the session. But we're going to think about starting from scratch, how much to charge as a tutor, what policies and procedures you might want to have in place, anybody that you need to register with, how you get students in the first place, what the essentials are for tutoring, and how we can help you at Twinkl as a private tutor as well. So to test out the reactions, how long has everyone been tutoring? So have a go, see what you want. So we've got a few people that haven't started yet. Someone that was more than 2 years, I think I saw. Trying to keep track of them, they all start exploding when there's lots of them. So lots of people that haven't started yet, some people that have done a year, 2 years, one child for 6 months. Oh, fantastic. Lovely. Oh, less than 1 year. Lovely. So we've got a range, and as I said, whether you're completely new to tutoring or whether you've been doing it a little while, whether it's something you want to do part-time or full-time, whether it's alongside another role or to be your main role, that's absolutely fine. We can get those things covered within the session this evening. So when you're starting from scratch, it can be really hard to know where to start. You might have decided you want to tutor, or you might have been approached by a family friend, someone you know that's asked if you can tutor their child for them. And actually it's something you then want to look into a little bit more. It's something that you would quite like to pick up alongside your other role or as a main role. And there are lots of different things that you might want to consider. So the first thing that I would like to draw your attention to is our Starting Your Tuition Business checklist. So I think the link for that is going to come through in the chat. And this checklist is free to download and has lots of different things on there. It also links to places you might want to look to get additional information about things you need to do when starting as a tutor. But that's a really great place for you to start, to make sure you've considered everything before you start running your sessions. The next thing to think about is who your market is. So what subjects are you going to tutor, and which age groups are you going to tutor as well? So you might be choosing to just tutor one subject and focus on maths or English, and you might only want to do Key Stage 2. Some tutors tutor bigger age ranges or the whole of primary, and then eventually end up venturing into some secondary as well. It's entirely up to you what you tutor and how you deliver those sessions as well. So post-COVID, there is a lot more online tuition taking place as well. So thinking about what subjects you want to tutor and where you want to do them. So it might be that you tutor online, or you might choose to tutor face-to-face. if you're tutoring face-to-face, this could take place in a number of places as well. It could take place in your own home, it could take place in the student's home, or it could be mutual ground. It could be somewhere like a library or a community centre if they have the space and they allow you to do that. So once you've decided what you're going to tutor and who you're going to tutor it to, you want to think of a name for your business as well. Now, you don't have to be creative with this. It's entirely up to you. If you want to come up with a brand new name, that's fine. But also your name is enough for your tuition business. When you are tutoring, you'll have a great relationship with those families you work with. And actually, it's you that you're trying to sell to families. It's you, it's your expertise, it's your experiences and qualifications. So actually sharing your name and getting your name out there is a great thing to do with your business. Or it might be where you are, something that might make you stand out from other people. Thinking of that as well, you will also want to just research other tuition providers in your area. So this could be centres, it could be other private tutors who are working one-to-one or in small groups, because you might have a great idea for a name for your tuition business, but actually there might be someone else in your town, in your city that's operating under that same name, and you want to stand out from them, you want to have that differentiation. Researching other tutors in your area can also help you to think about things such as pricing, which we'll come on to later, and also what demand there is. So if there's a lot of secondary tutors, it might be because there's a lot of demand for those secondary tutors, and knowing what market you're going into with who else is out there. So thinking about the name of your business, it's really great to be able to connect with other tutors and build a bit of a network around you of people that are doing the same thing as you as well. So in the chat, if you would like to, you don't have to. If your tuition business has a name, feel free to share that. And you might give someone inspiration if they're right at the start trying to think of what to call their business, or they might want to connect with you if you're on social media as well, and collaborate together to come up with those ideas. But perfect, yeah, so we've got Moss Tutoring, Learn with Laura, both using your names, KS Tutoring, another name, Amy's, yeah, we've got Amy's Online and Home Tutoring. Perfect, lots of names showing in the tutoring business names as well, and that does exactly what you need it to. It tells people who you are, and sometimes people might include the subjects they're tutoring, but I think sometimes deciding what you're going to call yourself can feel like a really big hurdle to get over, and thinking about what you want that to be, but it doesn't need to be difficult to think of that name. And as we've seen, there's loads of different ways you can incorporate your own name and what you're doing. So one of the big questions that lots of tutors have when initially starting out is how much should they charge? And there's a lot to take into consideration when you're thinking about setting your fees as a private tutor. So we've got a little list of things here. The qualifications that you have. So tutoring is an unregulated industry, but actually the qualifications that you have might set you apart from some other tutors. If you've got specific qualifications, for example, if you were a dyslexia assessor, that might change what you're charging, or how you market yourself as a tutor if parents are looking for those specific qualifications. Also, you want to think about what subjects and levels you'll be tutoring and what other tutors are charging for that. So if you're tutoring face-to-face locally, you want to be in line with what other tutors around you are charging. Online, it's thinking about what those demographics are and who you're trying to reach. Another factor in pricing is whether you're going to be looking at tutoring groups or working with children one-to-one. So when working with groups, you don't want to reduce your rate completely to be the same price as it would be for 1 hour one-to-one with a student if it's a 1 hour group, because you will have to do a little bit more work to get that group ready. It might be that you need to prepare more resources. There might be different activities that you're doing. But when you are charging your fees as a tutor, you need to make sure you take into consideration all the time that you have working as a tutor. So this might be time planning your sessions, preparing resources and getting ready for your sessions as well. If you charge £10 an hour for your tuition session, for example, but spend 2 hours or 2 hours planning ahead of that, you've split that £10 into 3 already, because you've spent 2 hours behind the scenes preparing those sessions, and then the hour delivering your session as well. So don't underestimate the amount of time you might spend planning, or if you're working face-to-face, traveling to students as well. Those are things you might want to take into consideration. And then also what other costs you might have. So this might be, as I just said, travel. It might include parking if you're parking nearby. If it's somewhere like a library where you have to pay for parking in the town. It could be the subscriptions you're taking out. All of these things factor into your sessions and how you're delivering those sessions to the families and the children that you're working with. So really think about everything, not just the hour that you do spend with the child. There's lots more that goes into it than just that 1 hour, or half an hour if your sessions aren't an hour, that you are spending with the child you're tutoring. So a really important thing to remember is that this is your business. So if you're tutoring full time, this is your only income likely, and you need to ensure that you're earning enough money to get by. I think lots of tutors, it happens a lot of the time that tutors feel they're not worth the money. We don't want to shout about what we're doing. You feel ashamed to talk about why you're worth the money, but actually all of those factors we just spoke about, your qualifications, your experiences, you really need to make sure that you value the hard work that you've put in to get to the point you're at now, because the families will definitely value the difference that you're making. So just a little reminder that you need to make sure you're understanding your value, and that you're proud of what you're doing, and don't feel embarrassed to set that rate that you deserve. So we're now going to move on to policies and procedures. And as I mentioned earlier, tutoring is an unregulated industry. So there are no rules. There is nothing to say that there are any specific policies or procedures that you need to have. And this might be different if you have chosen to become Ofsted registered. For example, if you're working in a tuition centre that is Ofsted registered, this would be different. But as an independent tutor, it is an unregulated industry. Despite this, there are some policies and procedures that you might want to have in place to protect yourself and to protect your business. And a key one that lots of tutors like to get set up from the start are terms and conditions. There are loads of different reasons you might want to get terms and conditions in place. And one of these is that actually it can be really hard to say no when you're running your own business to lots of things, whether it is booking in a catch-up session for a student that missed a session, allowing a cancellation, chasing late payments, all the things that aren't very nice to do. Having those set out in your terms and conditions right from the start of your sessions can really help to make it clear what the expectations are for the families you're working with, and they're agreeing to that from the start. I think having your terms and conditions set up right from the beginning can also help you to set those expectations right from the beginning, rather than having to go back and change these at a later date. It's a lot harder to reset and change expectations with the families you're working with once you've been working with them for a while. Terms and conditions will also probably be an evolving document for you. Lots of the time, we don't know what things we might encounter until we do, and situations will always come up that you haven't considered before. But actually, editing your terms and conditions and being able to add these in for future is really helpful and helps you to develop your business in the way that you want it. You might also want to think about payment and invoicing and having a policy around payments. Again, this can help you to make sure things are set up in time and that you're not spending a lot of time chasing payments that haven't come through to you. Every tutor will do their payments and their invoices in a different way. So it's entirely up to you how you run that. Some tutors might invoice a month in advance and request that people pay that in advance. Others might do it on a pay-as-you-go service. But however you do that, having, again, those expectations set out at the start can help save you time and also help to save any difficult or awkward conversations you might need to have about not receiving payment. With policies and procedures, although they're not a mandatory requirement for many tutors, we do understand that they are things that tutors might want to have in place. So we've been working on a range of business tools to support tutors behind the scenes with things like this as well. So if there are any policies that you would like to see, or any templates that you would find really useful, please do let us know. You can put it in the chat or on the feedback forms that come through afterwards. If there is anything else you would like to see that you can't find on Twinkl, please do let us know, because we are always wanting to help you out as much as we can, and we're willing to do whatever we can to help you with that as well. So sometimes you might also be wondering about who you need to register with. And although tutoring is unregulated, there are still some places and some people that you might want to register with, or you might need to register with. So if you're earning and you're over the tax threshold, HMRC are a big person that you will need to get in touch with, and you'll need to tell them about what you're doing and make sure they know about your tutoring income. There is also the ICO. So lots of people haven't heard of the ICO before, but a simple Google search is the best way to find out more. And this is all to do with data protection. So if you're storing any information about the children you're tutoring or their parents, you might want to look into registering with the ICO. There is a monthly fee, annual fee for the ICO, but you can also speak to them, and they're very helpful if you give them a call and explain your circumstances to them, and they can often help you figure out if their fee is something that you need to pay or not. You might also want to take out insurance. Think about what insurances you might take out, and this includes home insurance. If you are working from home, if you're tutoring in your own home, you might just want to check your home insurance. Sometimes there are things about running a business from your home, so it's important just to check that as well and make sure that you are covered if anything was to happen in your home. So for those of you that have been tutoring a while, or those of you that have just been starting, what have been the biggest challenges that you've faced since starting tutoring? If you want to put them in the chat, if you've had a way of overcoming these, feel free to share this as well. Or if there's any challenges that you're concerned about facing that you'd like to discuss, feel free to put those in the chat. Not getting the students. Yeah, I think that's a big thing, Charlotte. I don't know if you've started yet or if it's just right at the beginning, but actually getting those students initially, it is a concern. You don't have your tuition business if you don't have students, do you? So we will come on to getting students in a little bit. So hopefully that can help with that as well. Amy, you've mentioned delivering terms and conditions to existing parents, and I think that is a challenge. It's something that feels daunting. when you're trying to roll something new out, when maybe you've been very flexible, they've been able to do what they've wanted to really previously, and now you're trying to put those terms and conditions in place. I think what's important is to try and give them a little bit of notice that these things are coming, and I'm sure that you have great relationships with the families and the parents that you're working with as well. So putting that up front and letting them know that you are going to be putting those terms and conditions in place, and maybe letting them see them as well before they come into effect, so that they can discuss it with you if they have any concerns. That fear of the unknown, I think lots of people here will be feeling that as well. Anything that's new feels scary, feels daunting, but we've got a great community of tutors as well that you might be aware of on Facebook, under Twinkl Private Tutors. If you have a look on there, there's loads of people that have all taken the same leap and absolutely love tutoring. So it is scary. I think it's always scary doing something new, but good luck with your tutoring journey. Paula, also increasing your confidence. I think they're things that come with time, and again, it's that fear of the unknown a little bit as well, but I'm sure you'll be absolutely fantastic. Kirsty, as well, you've got 4 people signed up for you now, which is fantastic for the end of the first week, so congratulations about that. And Laura, let me just read yours. Yeah, having holidays and having that consistent income, it is hard. So I love your resolution as well, to have those upfront monthly invoices and being strict with it as well. And I think a lot of people face the challenge of having to say no, having to be strict. It feels very scary to do sometimes, but often I would say most of the families and the parents that you're working with will understand that. They understand that it's your business, and they appreciate the work that you're doing as well. Michelle, you've got tutoring friends and putting those terms and conditions in place as well. I think it's also that it's what works for you. So although tutors might have terms and conditions, if it's not something you want to have, again, you don't have to. You might want to have a less formal version of the terms and conditions, and you might just want to have a payment policy in place or a holiday policy. And those are things that you can use at the start to start introducing those things as well. But it's entirely up to you whether you have that. Nobody will tell you that you have to have terms and conditions, but they're often nice to have to rely on. Lisa, you're mentioning the stable income as well. Like I suppose, like we were just saying as well, about parents having holidays and not having that. And I think regarding independent work or working for a company, again, it's what works best for you, and you might want to do both of those. If you're working for another tuition company, often you are also able to take on private clients at the same time as well. So you can test the water with both of those. Charlotte, I'm sorry that you missed the answer to your question. This is being recorded, so you will be able to catch up on it as well. But I think we were just saying it is scary, but we are going to touch on getting those students in a little while anyway, so we should be coming back to that as well. There's some holidays to link into what we've been discussing about that steady income and consistent. As you've said, Liz, knowing how much to charge as well, definitely. I think lots of people have these same challenges, and actually I'm hoping what you've seen by sharing these in the chat is you're not alone with the challenges that you're facing, and a lot of people will be having the same challenges as you. So finding that community around you is really important, and having that support from other tutors, people that are doing the same thing as you, is really invaluable, because you're never alone, and there are lots of people starting out on a tutoring journey or who have been on a tutoring journey for a while, and they've had these same experiences. So as we've just spoken about, we're now moving on to how do I get new students? So you might feel confident with the actual tutoring of students and working with the children, but marketing your business and spreading the word about what you're doing, that can feel completely different and something completely new. The main way that many tutors grow their business is through word of mouth. So once you've got that first student, and I know that can be hard to get that first student, but once you've got that first student, if you do a great job, they will talk about it. They will talk to their friends, they'll talk to other family members, and you need to do the same as well. You never know who might be looking for a tutor, and even telling one of your friends that doesn't have children, you don't think they know anybody with children, making sure everybody you know knows what you're doing will help that word to spread. And those personal recommendations from people that know you and people can vouch for the job that you do will really help to build your reputation as well. You can also market online. There are lots of Facebook groups for connecting tutors and students. Also local community Facebook groups will often allow you to post in on certain days, advertising. And again, it's that way of spreading the word. But the most important thing to help you get new students is to tell everybody what you're doing and to be proud of what you're doing. Talk about it at every opportunity. There's always somebody that knows somebody else, so it's always worth just dropping it in, having that conversation, and you'd be amazed at how many people are looking for a tutor that you might not even know about. So you don't know these people are looking for a tutor until you mention it, and they've been looking for one for a while now, so you're then there to help. So another thing which is great to look at when you're tutoring is essential resources or essentials in general. It might be resources, it might be things like a really great water bottle. If you're tutoring online, you'll be doing a lot of talking. Even if you're tutoring face-to-face, you'll be doing a lot of talking, and having a water bottle handy is a definite essential to make sure your mouth doesn't dry out and that you are able to keep up the conversation throughout those whole sessions. And it's really nice to hear from other tutors and build that community and see what other people would recommend. So in the chat, if there's anything that you've used or anything that you're on the lookout for, an essential, feel free to post it in. You can do that throughout the chat. If anything comes to you as we're continuing to talk, feel free to add it in. But yes, I love the idea of a whiteboard and lots of board pens. I always find coloured pens as well. Having pens in every colour, it is amazing what picking up a purple pen can do and how that can completely change a learner and how they feel about what they're doing. So a great one. Yeah, I love the colours too. Your essentials might look slightly different whether you're tutoring online or face-to-face. If you're going face-to-face, you will be, if you're traveling to students' homes, you're going to be taking these resources with you. So you don't want to end up taking too many things all together. You end up starting with a small bag, maybe a shoulder tote bag, and end up needing a whole suitcase to fit all of your resources in after a couple of years. So thinking about what you might want to add in and what you want to take with you. But Leanne, I saw as well you've put in dice, which are an absolute essential. There are so many things you can do with those, so many great resources you can use. And I think it's also important to mention that you can also use these resources if you are tutoring online, if you're not face-to-face with the students. In terms of pens and paper, they will hopefully have their own equipment working in that way. But things like dice you could still use, whether it's you that's rolling them, whether it's a digital version of one of these types of resources. There are ways that you can use dice or playing cards. You can hold them up to the screen. If you were teaching online during lockdown, there were lots of creative methods that you'll have had to come up with at that time. So these are things that can all be used. But one of my personal favourites for both online or face-to-face tuition is treasure hunts. And I think there's so much you can do with a treasure hunt. There are so many ways you can make it interactive. You can link it to the learning you've been doing. And it's also a great little movement break as well. Lots of the time you're doing are after school or at the weekend, and a child might not be in the best frame of mind for learning at that point, but actually having something interactive that they can do is absolutely great. Perfect. And Matt's added in as well some lovely maths manipulatives as well, so always great to have. And if you don't have them and you're looking for them, lots of people are also able to find things on Facebook Marketplace or in charity shops as well. So there's always some bargains to be found, and with a bit of creativity, sometimes you can turn it into the best resource that you never knew you needed. So we do have a specific area for tutors on Twinkl to support you with everything you need for tutoring. So this is from things for behind the scenes through to things to use in your sessions as well. So some of those resources we've been discussing earlier today, but also all of the resources you might need to use in your tuition sessions, whether you're working face-to-face or online. So if you are primarily working as a tutor or you have a tutor as your only role, you can choose to have private tutor as your career type on Twinkl. If you set your career type as private tutor, you'll then find a button on your toolbar at the top that just says tutor. Clicking on that will take you through straight to our tutor landing page, where you can find all of the resources you might need and lots of helpful links for tutors. If you are tutoring alongside another role, so your main role might be a Key Stage 2 tutor and a Key Stage 2 teacher, and you're doing some tuition alongside that, you can still sign up as a Key Stage 2 teacher. That's absolutely fine, and still find those resources for tutors by typing tutor into the search bar on the Twinkl site. So if you type tutor, hit enter, it will also take you through to that tutoring page as well. So all of the resources that Matt shared in the chat this evening will be sent out as links following this as well, but you can find them on the tutor area as well. Everything's on there. And as I said earlier, we're always here to help you. So if you do have any questions, or if there are any resources that you can't find that you'd love to see, please do let us know. We'd love to be able to support you in all steps of your tutoring journey.